All right, well, we'll go ahead. I want to respect everybody's time. If other people pop in, I'll admit them into the room. But this is our alumni panel. So we are so lucky to have two alumni joining us, Abby Hanouw, who graduated in 2017, and Allison Maestas. Did I say that right, Allison?
Uh-huh.
Maestas. Okay, great, wonderful. Who graduated in 2018. So two very recent alumna who will be able to tell us a little bit about their journey and how they got to where they are, and what they did at CSU that kind of made the difference for them as we're trying to think about what we might do over the course of our time at CSU. Before I kick it off to them, I'm wondering if students, if you don't just mind, saying hello and letting them know who you are and kind of where you're coming from or what your interests in communication are so they know who they're talking to. I'll just kind of call on you. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't feel comfortable, but if you can just say hello to Allison and Abby, that would be great. Ashley?
Hey guys, my name is Ashley. I'm a transfer student. Can you guys understand me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually have an AA in communications, and since transferring to CSU just this semester, I've found that I'm really interested in rhetoric, and so I'm kind of curious what I can do with that as far as a career, kind of looking at public relations, but open to any input you might have. I do have some experience in nonprofit and doing public relations there. But I'm more interested in kind of going like the corporation route. But yeah.
Thanks, Ashley. Mia?
Hi, I'm Mia. Kind of the same with Ashley. I'm a transfer student and I'm also interested in rhetoric and civil engagement. Not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but eager to hear from you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Erica?
Hi, I'm Erica. So I'm really interested in the government policy part of communication, and I'm going to double minor in political communication and legal studies. So I'm trying to go the pre-law track. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks, Erica. Taylor?
Hi, I'm Taylor. Sorry, I can't really turn on my camera right now, but I'm also interested in the rhetoric part of the communication pathway, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Emerson?
Hi, I'm Emerson. I'm actually more interested in like the film part of communication. I don't really know what I'm gonna do with that, but that's what I'm most interested in.
Awesome. Thank you all. All right, Allison and Abby, you want to kick it off? Abby, you're first on the bio page, so how about we have you go ahead and get us started. Tell us about who you are and how you got to where you're at.
Sure. Can y'all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So my name is Abby, like Dr. Williams said. I actually transferred to CSU too. I spent 3 years at CSU and got a Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies and a Bachelor of Science in Equine Science. I was part of the university honors program and wrote a senior thesis through that, which was a really neat experience. And then after I graduated, I just needed to find a job pretty quick. So I started working at Spoons, the soup and salad restaurant that's local to Fort Collins. So I was an assistant manager for them until I got hired at CSU. And I started as a customer service representative in the office of the registrar. And after a year and a half or so, they actually created a new position for me to move up into, which was awesome. So now I'm the registrar academic project manager, and I do a bunch of different stuff for them. It really is all encompassing. They call me the pinch hitter for the office. So I step in where needed and manage a lot of the programs that we have. And as far as at my time at CSU, I think the most important things that I did that helped me in my career and helped me really take advantage of the opportunities was getting to know my professors pretty well. I still will like email back and forth and meet up with Dr. Veliquit whenever I can. And that gave me a really cool opportunity to speak at the Best Teacher Awards for her, which was awesome. And I also was a resident assistant when I was at CSU, so having on-campus employment was great. I met a lot of people through that. I made a lot of connections. I made a lot of awesome friends. So that was great.
I'm muted. Thank you, Abby. Allison, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. So I'm so excited to be here. I love CSU and I love just Fort Collins and the community there as well. So I hope that you all love it just as much as I did. So I'm from a small town called Brighton. It's just right outside Denver. In high school, this is kind of where I developed my career path and where I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do public works and I wanted to be involved in the community. I always said that I wanted to join the Peace Corps, and then COVID hit. So that wasn't an option for me, unfortunately. I'm still hoping in the future that it will be, because that's always just been a dream of mine. But in CSU, I went from freshman year and all the way to senior, so from 2014 to 2018. I was involved in the President's Leadership Program, so the PLP. If you haven't heard of that, definitely get involved in that. There's so many volunteer options that we do through the PLP, and that is how I got my minor. So I have a communication studies major with a double minor in leadership and political communications. I picked political communications only because I didn't know if my leadership was going to go through or not. So I just double minored there, and it did. And I always loved the political realm and the classes and everything too. And I think what helped me the most throughout my college career was picking classes that, they're required and everything, but also picking ones that resonated with me the most. So I also loved rhetoric. So I did rhetoric and Western thought. So anything that had to deal with rhetoric, I was there. And those are the classes that I excelled in as well. In my sophomore year of my college career, I did a Disney internship. So I had to do online classes while I was there. But I also learned, being off of campus, I didn't do, I wish I would have done study abroad, but it was kind of similar because I was still with people that were abroad, and I learned all kinds of cultures and things like that, and I was there for 6 months. So that was such an experience for me, and I really loved it. And then when I came back, because I knew that I needed to graduate someday, so I came back and I focused my time and effort into volunteering for the community and in the PLP, and that is where my heart lies, is just leadership and doing things for others. So right after college, I was like, well, I don't really have any plans because, maybe I'll take a year off. I don't really know what I want to do. And so I worked for Outback while I was there, and I got an offer to help open up a wine bar in Grand Lake, Colorado. So if you know where that's at, just in the mountains. And so that was a weird experience for me. I'd never been in a small town before. I'd never opened up a wine bar. And then we were also in charge of international students. So that was something that was different for me, is learning, the language barriers and how to communicate with these students, and how do I, and here's just a little small example, is how do you explain to them the difference of shade and shadow? And so it's like little things like that that really, I think that helped me in my college career too, is because it's like, well, I learned this in school. I know how to communicate with these people. I know that there's cultural differences. So it's like, how do I put myself in their shoes? So then when I came back from that, I only did that for a summer. I applied for, it's called the Hispanic Contractors of Colorado. We are a nonprofit here in Denver. I don't do a lot of contracting, even though that's what it says. It's just a historical name. But I do deal with the marketing communications. We do some lobbying as well, so I help draft up some of those letters. And we have a lobbying team that helps us with that as well. And so I got involved in that through just networking. And that was a huge thing for me too, is during college, I would go to just different networking events in the career centers. and asking them, is this good on my resume? Can I do an interview with you? Is this going to help me in the long run? And so using those resources on campus are definitely going to help you utilize your time, because it's all there. You're already paying for it, so why not utilize it? So I think that's probably the best advice I could give you.
Wonderful, thank you. I have a few questions, but I want to open it up to the students first. What questions do you all have? This is your chance to kind of pick the brains of two people who have went before you and have found really interesting career paths and are just kind of launching their careers in some really cool places, doing some cool things. Ashley, I see you turned your microphone off. Go for it.
Considering where you guys ended up, would you have gotten a different degree if you could do it all over again?
That's a good question. I don't think I would. I've never been the person who has like their whole life plan figured out. Like I've never known, okay, I want to for sure work in this field. So that's part of the reason why I was drawn to communication, because it was so broad. I could really craft what I wanted to do. So I did a lot of like business type communication classes and writing and visual communication. And I really think it gave me so many tools to use, because you can spin all of those classes and the opportunities in so many different ways. And so for me, that was really beneficial. So I don't think that I would choose differently. I also did the equine science major on the side, so I had some different classes, which was fun, because I just didn't really find a minor that was really interesting to me, and I've always loved horses, so I just decided to do that too.
I definitely would not choose a different major. I love everything about communications. And for me, my personality type is just everything is communications to me. Like my mind is always thinking like, oh yeah, good thing I know how to communicate with these people. And also I want to go back to school and get my master's in communication. So for me, that's always just been my passion.
Good question, Ashley. Others? Go for it.
Okay. Have you guys found that having a communications degree, people view you as customer service representatives and kind of want to utilize you in that way when you're kind of thinking, I am so much more than just a customer representative?
Mm-hmm. Abby, do you want to go first, or I can take it?
You can go first.
Definitely. Well, in my career too, right now, is I'm the youngest, and it's construction, so it's very heavily male-based. So it's hard to break that stigma, and that's kind of the challenges that we're facing right now. And what's really nice about my nonprofit is that we have different committees. So we have what we call like the Women in Leadership Committee. So it's nice because then we can have all of our different members and volunteers come together, and they just kind of talk about those differences and how they overcome that stuff. So even though it's like a male-dominated world, company, it's nice to know that you're not the only one that is dealing with those. So it's like, how do all those other women deal with it just as much as I do, and how do I overcome that? And so it's really just taking a role model for me and just kind of looking at the ways that they've handled it. How do they handle it professionally? Does this have an effect on them in their personal lives? And just connecting with somebody a lot of the times too, and I'm the youngest one here. So sometimes a lot of the things that I need from other people just get dismissed. So I always feel like I'm bothering them, or I'm pestering them, or that I'm really annoying. And it comes with the career, but at the same time, like, I know where my goals are at. I know where my vision's at. And so it's like I'm very focused on the main goal and the whole.
For me, I when I graduated, I knew that I wanted to stay in Fort Collins. And I knew that I loved working at CSU when I was an RA, and that I was going to miss being a college student. So I figured I'll try and get a job at CSU. So one of the jobs that I applied for that I was very excited about was being a degree analyst, which is also still in the registrar's office, but they tend to work more one-on-one with students and with departments, and they're the ones who confer your degree and make sure you have all the requirements. And I had interacted with my degree analyst a lot because I was a transfer student, so I was bringing credits in before I came and then every summer as well. And I went through the interview process and didn't get the job. And they told me to apply to be the customer service representative, that they were going to have an opening for that. And so I did apply for the customer service job and got that job. And I learned later, because some of the people that I was working with were on that committee for the degree analyst position. And they told me that they were wondering / curious if I was going to like a desk job and like want to work at a desk and do data and things like that. So it was a little frustrating when I heard that. And I definitely think that they thought like, oh, you've learned how to communicate, you'd be great at customer service and doing some of the marketing for the office. But they learned that I was not great at customer service because I'm a very direct and straightforward person. So I did a lot of side projects. Like some people who start in customer service tend to like maybe get stuck in that. But instead of just doing my customer service duties, I was out asking like the registrar and people in the office, what else can I do? Like, I'm just sitting here between phone calls. I need other projects. So I started doing a lot of projects for them. And then I think they realized my ability and created the project manager job for me. So it really is advocating for yourself, getting to know the people that you're working with if you do have to start in a position that's less than ideal. And really putting in the time and effort to show them that you're more than just someone who can talk to people well.
That's great. Thank you. Can you all, Allison, you touched on this a little bit. You talked about the PLP and internships and the Career Center. Can you all talk about like a little bit more about those activities or experiences that you had while you were here that were really formative for you? And maybe even how you got involved in it or how you learned about it?
Yeah, so for me, the PLP, just because I came from a high school, I was the student body president there, and I always have done leadership things. So like I said, that's just where my heart lies. So actually, when I was a freshman, I was a part of the, in Durward, the 12th floor, the leadership, it's like the leadership floor. I forgot what it's called. There's a name for it, and it's just escaping my mind. So I was a part of that my freshman year. And then they talked about the PLP because that was just the next step, because it was just a freshman year that you could be involved in like the Durward leadership. So I tried to join the PLP my freshman year and, or my sophomore year, sorry. And there was something wrong with my schedule that I just didn't have room for it. So I tried again my junior year. And the way that it works is that you have to have, I think, 3 or 4 years worth of those leadership credits in order to get the minor. So I doubled up on those classes. So I took freshman and sophomore PLP and then junior and senior PLP at the same time. And thankfully it worked out for me because I was able to manipulate my schedule. And at that time I had room in my schedule because I was already done with all my electives and things like that. But in the PLP, we go on like trips and retreats and things like that. I also did campus step up while I was there as well. And through the PLP, definitely challenged me. I think it was my senior year, I was doing like a freshman version of PLP, and we took a trip up to, where was it? I think it was in Greeley, and we volunteered for the food bank there. But we also went on a tour of the slaughterhouse there. And I've been a meat eater my entire life, but I also pass out when I see blood. And so for me, that was really tough because I was like, well, I don't know, like, and I'd never, had any of these differences, like, is this the right way to do this? Is it not the right way to do this? Like, to me, in my mind, I was always like, that's just a process. That's just how the world works. And then after going through that, it was tough because if I was the only person that backed out of the tour, then my whole group had to. So I had to be strong and just stick through the whole tour and go through it. And we learned about the differences between hierarchy and authority. And so we also talked about, how factory workers are people of color and how mostly in that position too, the bosses and the managers are white, people of white and privilege. And so we talk about a lot of those different norms and how to break the stigma. And the PLP for me is just, I just love the PLP. I will advocate for the PLP. And then it was my senior year that we had to do an exercise. And I'll never forget this exercise. And you had to stay silent and you had to put yourself in order of privilege. So you had to get in line about who has the most privilege in the class and who you think has the least privilege in the class. So that right there is just very uncomfortable, but also very eye-opening. And once you put yourself in that position, and then you can have a discussion. And being in college, you're around like-minded people and like-minded individuals. So being able to have the platform and opportunity to discuss those things is very fortunate, especially in our day and age too. And with the Career Center, I actually took a class. It was professional communications, I think is what it was. And they had the come in and talk to us about developing our portfolio and putting together our resume. And so that was what the whole class was, is that each week we were doing a resume, or then we had somebody review it, and then we were doing a cover letter. And so I think that class for me was very beneficial, and I'll remember that one because it was like, oh, well, in the real world, I need this stuff. And I would have never thought to do that if I didn't take that class.
That's great. Well, we will be having the Career Center come in a few weeks just to talk about different opportunities that exist within it, not to get us started on our resumes and stuff, but to just kind of give us that overview of what they can do and how we can use it. So yeah, thank you. Abby?
I also used the Career Center, and I think it was in professional communication that they talked about it. One of my classes that I took, I can't remember which one it was, but Dr. Velquit, the teacher that I have been in contact with since I graduated, was teaching the class, and she had the opportunity, she brought in a bunch of outside people who work in the community, and she was going to do a mock interview for someone, and you had to like apply to get the position to do the mock interview, and I didn't get it, but she offered to do a mock interview with me after that, and that was a really awesome experience, just using her knowledge and expertise, because she had worked as a resident assistant, and that's what I was mock interviewing for. And she also taught me about the Career Center, and I would go there and do mock interviews and have them look over my resume as well. One of the other opportunities that I had was being a TA for Elizabeth Sink's nonverbal communication class, which was super fun. And I learned about that just through taking the class with her the first time. And then she let us know about that opportunity. And I was really interested because I loved that class and I really enjoy helping other people learn new things. And that was a really awesome opportunity. I did an internship, but that was through my equine science program. So I was working with someone and trained his horses. But communication is really important in that field too, because horse people aren't very good at communicating with other people. they're great at communicating with horses. So it was fun to have that experience when I was talking with them and trying to figure out what exactly he wanted me to do, what his expectations were. And then my on-campus job as an RA was really life-changing. It gave me the opportunity to communicate with so many people from different backgrounds. It was fun to watch freshmen grow into who they were going to become and help them find opportunities across campus. It was a good way to build event planning skills and marketing, and just really learn a lot about how the university works, because they're asking me questions all the time. And so I really enjoyed that opportunity too.
Abby, I love what you just said about how, like, being a resident assistant, we wouldn't think like that you learn event planning, right? And so I think a lot of times thinking about different opportunities, we think about kind of the title instead of everything that it entails. I know I always tell students that, like, the Center for Public Deliberation is a really great opportunity to build some of those skills as well, because you are doing things like event planning, you can get involved in research, you can do a lot of different things within under the umbrella of learning facilitation skills. So yeah, yeah. Other questions? Don't be shy. This is our opportunity.
I have a
Erica.
question. Hi. I have a question kind of about being a residence assistant. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that, but yeah, because I was interested in doing that, not next year, but the year following. And I wanted to know, like, what are the benefits from it, and would you recommend doing it? And like what skills you've like developed and how it's helped your resume, I guess.
Yeah. Being a resident assistant changed my life. It was one of the most impactful experiences that I ever had. It benefited me in so many ways because, like Dr. Williams said, and what I pointed out, you just learn so much, and you can word things in a really, really neat way on your resume that people just wouldn't think about. So one of the things that I could put on my resume was being on call for like a 900 plus student residence hall and responding to crisis situations, which is helpful when you're looking at certain types of jobs. I made so many amazing friends and so many connections across campus. Like I said, it was just amazing. And there are a lot of different ways you can get involved, because within the residence hall, there is a lot of like different committees and things you can serve on. So one of the things I did was really focus on team building. But some people were focused on creating the duty schedule. So scheduling, you could put that on your resume. You could work at the front desk too and get all sorts of office related stuff to put on your resume. It's such a wide breadth of resume building, like marketing for your hall, having meetings. So making agendas, scheduling meetings, responding to crisis situations, working with different campus stakeholders, event planning. It's endless. And if you want to talk about it more, I'm more than happy to talk about it with you.
I'm just going to point out what Abby just said about being more than happy to talk to you about that. And that's so many of our alum are more than happy to talk to you about different experiences that they had and give you assistance, because so many benefited from the assistance of alum that went before them or faculty members who took time to do mock interviews. And so I think recognizing that you're now part of like this larger community, right? And not everybody's still here, but people are out working and are willing to offer that. that. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to look at kind of LinkedIn, not as like searching for careers, but as an information source and a way to network with people like Allison and Abby who might be able to answer questions for you, and doing that early right now to help you identify different opportunities as you go through CSU. I wanted to circle back. You both talked about internships, and Abby, I know yours was outside of the department, but especially Allison, I wonder if you can talk about that internship experience and kind of how it connected to your classwork. I know Disney has a unique program itself, but you know, how did you do it for credit? Didn't you do it for credit? And then how did that impact your classes? And Abby, if you have any ways, even though it was in equine science, that it kind of affected how you viewed communication when you came back from your internship.
Yes, so with my Disney internship, so through the PLP, one of our requirements for the semester was to get an internship. And so for me, I already knew that I kind of wanted to go the Disney route. I had a friend who did it, and so she was talking to me about it and all the different benefits and stuff. So I was getting credit for it in the roundabout way because I was already doing online classes while I was there. But initially, I applied because the PLP required an internship. And so I was able, and thankfully, I got accepted. And so what it was is they collect a bunch of students worldwide. So it's not just the United States or anything like that. And I went to Disney World, not Disneyland. And you stay in apartment buildings that they have for you. It's almost just like college, and then like your freshman year, and they just assign you roommates and stuff like that. So it was really cool because then across the street, like across the hall from me were Italians, and then down the hall were Germans, and then we had Turkish, and so it was just a bunch of different cultures like meshed into this like fantasy land, I guess, of just, you know, happiness and magical dreams is what they say. But it was so much fun, and to me, like the job that I applied for was it's called quick service, like food and beverage. So my home base was at ESPN Wide World of Sports, so that's where they played the basketball championships. And through there, I was able to meet a ton of people and connect like with my coordinators and stuff like that too. But when there wasn't events going on at ESPN, they would schedule you to other parks. So I worked at Magic Kingdom or Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom or even the resorts there because Disney World is so big. And through there, I was doing, Disney does have their own coursework that you can sign up for. But since I was already doing online classes, I didn't sign up for them. I mean, I wish I would have because I had a friend that took a course, and they take you on like VIP tours of Disney, and they kind of tell you, you know, if this is the position that you want, this is how you kind of get into it. But for me, I was already maxed out on credits. I was already doing online, and I was very focused when I was there regardless. And at the time, I was only 20. So I wasn't, like, to me, it was just, like, I wasn't drinking or anything. You're not allowed when you're that age, in Disney at least, because, you know, people have their ways. But so I was in a dorm full of girls that didn't do that either. So we would just go off and do our own thing. But it was so much fun, and like I have so many friends that are just all over the world now. Because of that internship, I was able to go to Mardi Gras. I have a friend who lives in Louisiana, and I have a friend who lives in Ohio, so I go visit her often. Or I have friends that live in Florida still, so I just got back from a trip from Disney. And so it's like that networking base for me really helped me in the long run because now I could go out and do all these life experiences and go out and meet all these new people and just have that base connection of like, oh yeah, we worked at Disney together. So that was really fun.
I did my internship at the end of my college career because I shoved my equine science degree into 2 years. So I really appreciated the experience of doing an internship. It was required for my equine science degree, which is why I did it. I wish I would have done something more along the lines of what I wanted to do long term. I think it's an amazing opportunity, but I did have the chance to work with horses, which I love doing, and meet new people and just have that experience, which was fun. And I wrote my senior thesis on interviewing owners for horse training, essentially. So it was fun to use that when I went and did my internship because I had completed my thesis by then.
Great, thank you. We will I've recorded an information session with our internship coordinator for the department. So students will have that in a couple of weeks, kind of explaining if you want to do it for credit within our department, you can certainly do an internship that way as well and kind of connect it to your coursework. Anybody think of any questions? So another question I have, last week we had our academic success coordinators come in and we're starting to think about registration for next spring. What classes were most impactful to you in the department? You both have mentioned a few classes here and there. So what classes should our students be looking at, or what faculty members would you suggest they seek out and take classes from?
So for me, I mean, like many of you, you enjoy rhetoric. So rhetoric and Western thought has been one of my favorite classes that I took. I really enjoyed nonverbal communication as well. I took that with Eric Aoki. And another class for me, I enjoy public speaking. So for me, I took public speaking and advanced public speaking with Kristen Slattery. Just the way that she runs her courses, I don't know how she does it. I just enjoy being there. I love it. I was always on time. And just, I think maybe because she's more like relaxed and she's like, get your work done kind of stuff, but like, you need to get it done. Like, go on your own pace, but you're going to get it done. So, those are probably my favorite ones. I think I did rhetoric and I don't remember the exact course it was called. It was like rhetoric and politics, I think, for my political communications minor.
Maybe political communication?
Yeah. That one was good too.
I really enjoyed nonverbal communication. I still have my book. It's super interesting to me. I also enjoyed visual communication. I wrote my final paper on the oval and what it communicates, and I don't know why I remember that, but I thought it was really cool just to learn about how different things are set up can leave an impression even if you don't realize that it's doing that. So it was really interesting to do a deep dive. The teacher I had the most classes with was Dr. Veliquit, because I originally took SPCM 207 with her. I don't remember what class that is.
Public argumentation, one of our required classes.
Yeah, that was a really interesting class too. But I think I took professional communication with her and SPCM 130, which I think is also required for you all. But it's really fun. Like, once you find what you're interested in or teachers that you really connect with, it's so nice because you can just go through and pick those classes and find those teachers.
Wonderful. What other questions do you all have? Well, Allison and Abby, do you have any final words for our students? Is there just embarking on their time here?
Yeah, definitely embrace everything that you have that is of option to you. I guess I don't know, I'm lost of words right now. But it's definitely, just enjoy your time. It's so much fun. Live every day, live every moment. For me, I'm so sad that it was over. I did my college career in 4 years, and a lot of people do theirs in 5. So for me, I'm like, oh man, I was cheated a year. I had so much fun, and I definitely, sign up for those classes that you want, do volunteer for those opportunities. Like, maybe I don't have it in my schedule. Try to make time in your schedule to do that. I worked full time while I was in college as well. So, and I think at one point I was taking 21 credits, and I was still volunteering, doing all those things, and it paid off. And I would not trade it in for the world. I enjoyed every moment of it. So seize the moment and take care of yourself. Be healthy.
Yeah, I definitely echo all of that. Really, like, there's not very many other opportunities in life where you're just handed everything. You're handed experts, you're handed resources, you're handed internships, job opportunities. Like, it's all just right here for you. And one of the things that I wish I did more was take advantage of those opportunities. So if you have an opportunity to go to office hours, if you have an opportunity to get involved in the department in any way you can, really take advantage of that, because that's where you're going to meet people. That's where you're going to learn more about your interests and what you want to do in the future. It's just an experience that really you're never going to get again unless you come back to college. It's just really amazing. And I would highly recommend getting to know faculty and staff, because they're going to be really beneficial as you move forward. If you ever need letters of rec or someone to look at your resume or someone to mock interview with, if you have a really good relationship with them, they're going to be more than willing to help you.
Wonderful. Thank you both. I so appreciate your time and your willingness to share your experiences with our students. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Students, I just want to remind you, journal will be due on Friday, and then we have an assignment before our next class, and our next class will be in person. So I will see you all again in Eddy Hall next Wednesday. So thank you all. Take good care.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you,
was
guys.
awesome to have this
Thank you
opportunity.
so much.
Bye.